Okay. Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sara Cope. I promise I'm not going to make you howl this morning. And I am your welcomer. So, I'm going to give you a few announcements, first of all, from our Community Matters, and then I have the great pleasure to introduce our guest minister this morning. So, first of all, our Jack is presenting the 1619 project in 6 one-hour episodes. The second will be next Sunday here at FCU from 6 to 8 p.m. That's Sunday, April 2nd. And yes, it's April already. Don't know how that happened. Reverend Lara will be offering a modified version of Spirit in Practice in 5 sessions, starting Wednesday, April 5th. Please see Community Matters for details and sign up. The people who are responsible for the stewardship event, you know who you are sent a reminder for sending pledges in by April 1st. And if you weren't able to attend the program, a link was sent out via listserv for you to watch, or for that matter, watch again, because it was that much fun. Okay. Greater Littleton Interfaith Council, that's a mouthful, is holding their monthly vigil for racial justice on Monday from 5 to 6 on Littleton Common. And please see Community Matters for any other events that are listed there. So, this morning, our guest minister is a well-remembered former FCU minister, Fred Small. Reverend Fred was ordained by FCU in 1999 and served as minister here until 2008. This is his first time back in our pulpit. Reverend Fred is also a renowned folk singer-songwriter, as well as a climate activist, something near and dear to my heart, and former environmental lawyer. He is also Minister for Climate Justice at Arlington Street Church in Boston. Many of us know, and some of us have sung, again, though not me, Reverend Fred's uplifting and inclusive lullaby, Everything Possible. On May 2nd, it will be published as a beautifully illustrated children's picture book, which we grown-ups will also love. It can be ordered from bookshop.org, Barnes & Noble, or your favorite independent bookseller. And with that, if I don't drop it, welcome to church. And don't miss the step.
Light within all light, soul behind all souls, at the break of dawn, at the coming of day. We wait and watch. Your light within the morning light, your soul within the human soul, your presence beckoning to us from the heart of life. In the dawning of this day, let us know fresh shinings in our soul. In the growing colors of new beginning all around us, let us know the first lights of our heart. Great star of morning, inner flame of the universe, let us be a color in the new dawning. For our chalice lighting this morning, I invite Tucker to come forward and light the chalice. And as the chalice is lit, let us say together the covenant of our congregation, beginning with love, the words in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And not many of you need the order of service when the words are projected on the screens. A new addition since my departure, and a welcome one in my book. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days are breaking in my soul. And as you might imagine, you are invited to rise in body or in spirit. Did you all learn this song when I was here? Did I teach it to you? A few nods here and there. Bright Morning Star. This song began as a sleepy Appalachian hymn, which is actually in our hymnal. Bright morning stars arising. Beautiful, beautiful hymn. Court Dorsey, musician activist, took it to the nuclear protests at Seabrook and kicked it up a notch and turned it into this movement anthem, which goes like this. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days are breaking in my soul. You got it. And there are also wonderful harmonies to be found in this song, and I love what Pete Seeger used to say about harmony. He said, don't be afraid of harmony. Harmony is any note that your neighbor isn't singing. So give it a try. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days are breaking in my soul for justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, days are breaking in my soul for peace in every nation, for peace in every nation, for peace in every nation, for peace in every nation. Days are breaking in my soul for the healing of creation, for the healing of creation, for the healing of creation, for the healing of creation. Days are breaking in my soul for the future of our children, for the future of our children, for the future of our children, for the future of our children. Days are breaking in my soul. Last time, bright morning star. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising. Days are breaking in my soul. Beautiful singing. Have a seat. So I invite the children to come forward for a story for all ages, or anyone else who's feeling particularly young at heart this morning. Come on down. Hey, nice to see you all this morning. Thanks for coming down. So, do any of you like to climb trees? Any tree climbers here? Yeah, some grown-ups are raising their hands too, absolutely. So, I love to climb trees. I used to be kind of scared of climbing trees, but then I just stopped being scared and just kept going up as far as I could. And something else, when the weather is nice, do you ever lie under a tree and just look up at the sky through the branches and the leaves? I used to love to do that. In fact, I still do. It's so pretty. You know, the sun and blue sky, clouds, but also this all these leaves and branches. It's so pretty. Now, how would you like to actually be a tree? Whoa, that's something. For just a few minutes this morning, we're going to imagine what it might be like to actually be a tree. Whoa. So this is a guided meditation I've adapted from the work of Freeman, and I invite the grown-ups to participate as well. So I ask you to close your eyes, if that feels okay. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. And as you let out your breath, imagine you're a tree. You are a tree. Sending down a long, deep taproot. That's that big root right in the center. You're sending a long, deep taproot down into the earth underneath you. Kind of like a tail, but it's a root deeper and deeper into the soil. And now that taproot, that big root in the center, starts to send out smaller roots in all directions. Almost like branches of a tree, but they're roots under the ground, spreading all around you. Their tips pushing their way between the soil and the stones, anchoring you to the earth. And every time you breathe out, send energy into all those roots. Feel your strength as a tree, deeply rooted in the earth. And now feel all those roots drinking in water and food from the soil. And every time you breathe in all the energy of the earth coming to you through those roots. While above the ground, all around you, grass and flowers and animals brushing past, birds landing on your branches, squirrels curled in the hollows of your trunk. And now feel your branches reaching up and outward into the air as far as they can reach. And feel your smaller branches and leaves swaying in the breeze, back and forth. Feel your leaves turning toward the sun. Turning toward the sun, receiving its warmth and light. Feel the rain coming down, the gentle rain washing you clean. And then as winter comes back, you can feel the soft snow blanketing you. Feel the turning of the seasons. Winter to spring, spring to summer, summer to fall. All those slow cycles of the years and the decades. Warmth and cold, dry and wet. And still you stand as a tree with those deep roots and all those branches. And now come back to right now, your life as a human being, sitting in church on a Sunday morning, or at home if you are joining us remotely. And here we are, in the present. But remember what that was like. Remember the spirit of the tree. Remember that you too are rooted in the center of your world, always held in the embrace of earth and sky. So thank you. Thank you for joining in that guided meditation. And I think we're now going to hear from the choir.
As Ellen Johnson Fay wrote, the offering is a statement of the free church. It is supported by the voluntary generosity of all who join with us. For virtual participants, you can go to our website, fculittle.org, and look for the yellow donate button in the upper right. There you will see details of how to donate online if you wish. Optionally, you could also send a check to the church through the mail. To continue with the words of Johnson Fay, the offering will now be given and received in graceful appreciation of our shared hopes and values. Please join with me in our community response. We are grateful to have opportunity to serve and grateful for the gifts we have received. May this affirm the ministry of our church community within these walls.
Most weeks, this congregation shares a sacred time to feel again our deep connection to one another and to the holy. It is in this spirit that we share in the lighting of candles of caring, candles of joy, concern, or sorrow. If you have an important joy or concern, you're invited to share that as you feel moved. Please let us know briefly how we might direct our thoughts, prayers, or healing wishes. For those of you worshiping with us virtually, please raise your hand in the reactions or participants area of Zoom if you would like to speak. For those in the sanctuary now, please raise your hand high and we will bring a microphone to you where you are. Please hold the microphone close to your mouth and we'll be honored to light a candle for you up here. And I'll light one remaining candle for all the joys, sorrows, and concerns that remain unspoken in our hearts.
I invite you to join in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life, Holy One, essence and breath of all that is. Take my fear and let it become wonder. Take my grief and let it become compassion. Take my doubt and let it become courage. Take my self-centeredness and let it become love. Take my broken heart and let it become my strength. Amen, and blessed be. In silence we descend deeper than words, centering down to the ground of being. During the silence, I invite you to pray or to meditate or to contemplate ultimate things. reading is by Joy Harjo, a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation and United States Poet Laureate. Once I traveled far above the earth. This beloved planet we call home was covered with an elastic web of light. I watched in awe as it shimmered, stretched, dimmed, and shined, shaped by the collective effort of all life within it. Dissonance attracted more dissonance. Harmony attracted harmony. I saw revolutions, droughts, famines, and the births of new nations. The most humble kindnesses made the brightest lights. Nothing was wasted. It gives me such joy to be back here in Littleton, back in this beautiful sanctuary made holy by all of you. It was here that I became a minister, some of you remember. Here that my wife Julie and I brought our baby daughter Lucy home from China. Here that we enjoyed some of the best years of our lives. Thanks to you. Thanks to you. Thank you. I knew a man once who tried to save a tree. It was a magnificent red oak planted in the 19th century. Through numberless winters and springs and summers and autumns, its roots had penetrated deep into the soil, and its trunk had grown tall and strong. Generations of families and friends and lovers had gathered gratefully in the shade of its broad canopy. And the man loved the tree. He loved the tree and he held it sacred. But the tree grew close to a building. And one day, the owners of the building decided the building needed to be improved and expanded. The tree would have to be cut down, they said. And so the man who loved the tree wrote letters and social media posts to try and change their minds. He organized others and enrolled political leaders in his cause. Save the tree, they cried. The owners were unmoved. It's true, they said, the tree is old and beautiful, but it's not actually in very good shape. It's going to die soon anyway. Besides, they said, we have no choice. We've examined every alternative, and none is practical within our budget. The tree must go. Outraged, the man assailed their motives and their integrity. His letters and posts grew more acerbic and sarcastic. At last, his belligerence and ill temper drove away even people who also cared about the tree and might have helped save it. And so the tree was cut down. And all who saw its severed limbs couldn't help noticing how healthy they looked. And the man cursed the owners for their stupidity and short-sightedness. This good man who loved trees so profoundly and so passionately had not learned from them. His feverish, frenetic activism was nothing at all like a tree. He championed the sacredness of trees while neglecting the sacredness of human beings, including his own. He knew the worth of trees, but not the peace of trees. Don't we all make the same mistake, at least some of the time? More than half a century ago, the Trappist monk and peace activist Thomas Merton warned, "There is a pervasive form of contemporary violence to which the idealist most easily succumbs: activism and overwork. The rush and pressure of modern life are a form, perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence. To allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects." Anybody find that familiar? To want to help everyone in everything is to succumb to violence. The frenzy of our activism, Merton said, neutralizes our work for peace. It destroys our own inner capacity for peace. It destroys the fruitfulness of our own work because it kills the root of inner wisdom, which makes work fruitful. The frenzy of our activism destroys our inner capacity for peace and the fruitfulness of our work. Actually, Thomas Merton was lucky. He died before Twitter. Twitter, that twilight zone of snark, contempt, adorable animal videos, occasional inspiration, and permanent outrage, where I, for one, have wasted far too much of my time. It's easy to be punitive and make others disposable. Caution Tom DeWolf and Jody Geddes in The Little Book of Racial Healing. The difficult task, they say, is in telling the truth in ways that seek healing and transformation. We are beset today by a host of daunting challenges, all of them urgent and interconnected, many seemingly intractable, from patriarchy to white supremacy, from public corruption to secret abuse, from Islamophobia to transphobia, from gun violence to armed insurrection, from mass incarceration to mass extinction. It is natural. It is healthy for us to feel grief, anger, fear, and despair. I am a climate justice activist. Despair is my constant companion. By now, it's almost an old friend. It seems every new report coming from the scientists is even more depressing than the last. Another one just came out last week. As Lily Tomlin once observed, things are going to get worse before they get worse. The realization that it's too late to prevent significant global warming, too late, I believe, even to prevent vast suffering, has had a surprising effect on me. Instead of making me more anxious and agitated, somehow it has calmed and steadied me. For decades, as a climate activist, I felt like I was in a rowboat above a thundering waterfall, rowing frantically to keep from going over the falls. The boat is going over the falls. We are plummeting, tumbling, crashing into the unknown at vertiginous speed, and yet somehow at the same time in slow motion. Terrible things are happening and will happen. Millions will suffer and die in the decades to come, with the worst impacts upon those least responsible for the problem: people of color and people living in poverty all around the world. But it is never, never too late to save the next life or the next species. It's never too late to do the next right thing. I vow to do everything I can to reduce the suffering, to tend to the wounded, and to build a more just world. But since I believe it's too late to head off catastrophe, I am resolved to do these things mindfully, with love and compassion and tenderness and generosity of spirit. Because given the certainty of suffering, the how is as important as the what, or even the when. Our climate future is not binary. Everything's going to be wonderful, or everything's going to be awful. Ecotopia or dystopia. The future will almost certainly have elements of both. And where the balance between them falls will depend upon an infinite number of choices, my choices and your choices and the choices of our children and their children and their children. We don't know what's gonna happen. I hope that the human species survives this crisis that we have created. But whether or not we do, we know that life has already survived 5 major extinctions. Life will endure, and intelligent life will continue to evolve. With luck and the grace of God, not only smarter, but also wiser, kinder, and more compassionate. As we confront this crisis, Potawatomi botanist Robin Wall Kimmerer reminds us, we don't have to figure out everything by ourselves. There are intelligences other than our own, teachers all around us. If we understood that, Kimmerer says, if we understood that, imagine how less lonely the world would be. So as we struggle to save our trees, what can we learn from them? Well, one thing we can learn is patience. When we're in mortal danger, patience can be hard to cultivate. Trees can help us. Trees take the long view. They have to. Many live hundreds, even thousands of years. Longevity counsels patience. By patience, explains Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron, we don't mean enduring, grin and bear it. In any situation, instead of reacting suddenly, we could chew it, smell it, look at it, and open ourselves to seeing what's there. The journey of patience, she says, involves relaxing, opening to what's happening, experiencing a sense of wonder. To be patient means to slow down. On an exposed cliffside in the Canadian Great Lakes is a white cedar that's taken 155 years to reach the towering height of 4 inches. That's taking it slow. Even when a tree is under threat, it responds slowly. When a caterpillar begins to chew on an oak leaf, emergency, emergency, it can take an hour before defensive compounds reach the leaf to repel the pest. The hectic pace of humans takes a toll on our activism, our relationships, and our souls. We can be peaceful in our fervor, insists Charles Eisenstein, and patient in our urgency. In a society hyped on hyper-individualism, trees remind us of the interdependence of all beings. Far from the solitaries trees sometimes appear, they are deeply embedded and active in a community of interconnection, which forest ecologists sometimes playfully call the wood wide web. Whether by interlacing root systems, fungal networks, or release of chemical scents, trees warn each other of predators and harmful insects. They can even share nutrients with each other. According to ecologist and Tsimshian native Dr. Teresa Ryan, when a tree in a warming forest dies, it donates its carbon not to its own offspring or even to others of the same species, but to the newest arrivals in the forest, those most likely to survive as temperature increases, a bequest of generosity akin to altruism. Trees model for us the power of commitment, of choosing to be rooted in one place. When a seed takes root, it makes a lifelong commitment to that very spot. There it must adapt or die. Our commitments need not be absolute, but they call us to strive and to struggle, to honor our relationships, our communities, and our principles. I joined this community in 1999, 24 years ago. Many of you were here then. And more of you were here in 2008 when I departed 15 years ago. And here you are. You have each made a commitment, each in your own way, to this place, to these relationships, to this love. Well done. Commitment demands persistence. Trees persist through high winds, torrential rains, heavy snowstorms that bend their branches, ice storms that break them. If you've ever seen a tree clinging to seemingly naked rock, its root tips stretching to every particle of soil it can reach, sucking in the tiniest droplet of moisture, you know what persistence looks like. Trees teach us to live with loss. Every fall, deciduous trees surrender their leaves to the forest floor, enriching the soil not only for themselves, but for all who share their ecosystem. And trees endure the deaths of their companions. From wind, fire, storm, disease, logging, and old age. Trees embody the perfection of imperfection. Admiring an old maple in Connecticut one time, I was struck by its sinuous beauty. And as I looked more deeply, I realized its beauty lay precisely in its irregularity, its imperfection, its scars, its woundedness. Had it been perfectly straight, perfectly uniform, perfectly symmetrical, it would have been grotesque. Only human beings make things that way. God knows better. Maybe I too could accept my imperfections as a mark of beauty. When I spend time with trees, I sense their humility, their kindness, their love. I used to think it was anthropomorphic to ascribe human attributes to non-human beings, but I no longer think so. Actually, now I think it's anthropocentric to think so. We are all sentient beings. We know that plants feel pain and distress. Why shouldn't trees, in their own way, feel love? If you doubt that, I don't blame you, but I invite you to spend more time with trees, touching their bark, gazing up at their leaves, and just listening. Trees have been among my wisest and most reliable teachers. As a child, Howard Thurman, who would grow up to become one of the great preachers of the 20th centuries and a spiritual advisor to Martin Luther King Jr. As a child, he discovered a unique relationship with an oak tree in his backyard. I could sit my back against its trunk, he remembered, and reach down in the quiet places of my spirit, take out my bruises and my joys, unfold them, and talk about them. I could talk aloud to the oak tree and know that I was understood. It too was part of my reality, like the woods, the night, and the pounding surf, my earliest companions, giving me space. Today we need love more than ever. Climate and racial justice advocate Mary Anais Hagler confesses that love is what keeps her going. I don't mean any simple, sappy kind of love, she declares. I mean living, breathing, heart-beating love, wild love. This love is not a noun. She is an action verb. She can shoot stars into the sky. She can spark a movement. She can sustain a revolution. I love this beautiful, mysterious, complicated planet we get to call home. I love that nighttime symphony on steamy southern nights when the frogs croak and the crickets sing and the owls hunt. I love the delicate feel of honeysuckle petals and the warm, greeny earth and dewy grass on my bare feet. This love, Hagler says, this love is strong enough to break through the terror. She is hot enough to burn through anger and turn into fury. She can shake you out of your despair and propel you to the front of the battlefield. It's a love that can also, even in the teeth of these most insurmountable odds, give me hope. If I'm brave enough to accept it. So I'll let the trees have the last word this morning, with the assistance of their friend and interpreter, the late poet Mary Oliver. We Unitarian Universalists don't have saints, of course, but if we did, I think Mary Oliver would be one. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me. And daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches, and they call again. It's simple, they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. Amen. And blessed be. Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Song written by Guy Carawan. Please rise in body or in spirit. Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Give it a try. Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right? 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 Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? So rocky the road, so rocky the road, so dangerous the journey, so dangerous the journey, but we got a right. But we got a right, ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right, ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right, ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right, ain't you got a right to the tree of life? We come from a distance. We come from a distance. We come from a distance, and we got a right, and we got a right. Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right? 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 Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Our lives will be sweeter. Our lives will be sweeter. Our lives will be sweeter, 'cause we got a right. Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right? 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 Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? We are 3 years into maybe coming out of a pandemic. And in all those 3 years, many times we've just been on Zoom, which is a blessing and a curse, and a blessing and a curse. But for those of us in the sanctuary, I'm going to invite you to do something I have not attempted for any of those 3 years. Because before the pandemic, it's been so hard and so easy for me compared to most. But it's been hard. I have been starved for human touch, for human contact. So before the pandemic, I would always invite people to join hands and sing the final chorus of this song. If you do not want to do that, do not do it. Even if somebody extends their hand and says, "Oh, come on," you have the right to say no. Okay? So do not do this if you feel the least bit uncomfortable. But maybe you came in a pod. Maybe you came with someone whom you sleep with every night. So you can probably hold their hands. So this is a voluntary activity. You're Unitarian Universalists. Everything is a voluntary activity. But if you feel comfortable holding hands, Let's do that for the first time maybe in 3 years. And let's sing this song together one last time. Ain't you got a right, 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 ain't you got a right to the tree of life. Ain't you got a right, 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 ain't you got a right to the tree of life. If you're holding hands, you can continue to do so. The words of Stephanie Kaza. Let go of the place that holds. Let go of the place that flinches. Let go of the place that controls. Let go of the place that fears. Listen. The wind is breathing in the trees. Walking in the dark night, I practice courage, accepting the vastness of what I cannot see. Amen, and blessed be.